Hey guys, welcome back to Drez Gaming News on Clownfish Gaming. This is Neon. We're going to talk about tabletop gaming and tariffs and panic at the table. So for those of you who don't know, most board games, most tabletop games, most everything is manufactured in China, and the Trump tariffs will probably increase the price of production or importing those goods into the U.S. So there is a lot of unease in the gaming industry because, the margins aren't great to begin with in a lot of cases, especially for complex games that have a lot of pieces. And how much will consumers pay? I mean, we're seeing board games that, 10 years ago, 15 years ago wouldn't have been that expensive. Now they're creeping up to, 50, $60 for a basic board game. Again, these are not the games that are produced in the numbers of like a Monopoly or something like that from Hasbro. We're talking kind of niche, artisanal board games, the kind of stuff that you would see on Kickstarter. And everybody's kind of losing it now. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And again, we have other businesses, and one of our businesses is actually publishing. We publish comics, and we're getting into games. Now I'm kind of looking at the situation. I'm like, well, I don't know. Everything's going to cost a lot more. Everything's going to cost a lot more, and you have to kind of pass that on to the consumer. So this could definitely impact the tabletop industry. We're seeing Nintendo. We did another video talking about that, where they're kind of in limbo right now as far as the pricing on the Switch 2. They announced the prices and the pre-order date. Now they're like, oh, we're gonna have to push that back because we don't know how much we're gonna have to charge for it. Now, real or imagined, we don't know again if companies are going to use the tariffs as an excuse to just jack the prices up. But either way, I think prices are going to go up. So let's talk about that and talk about some of the reactions. This comes from Polygon. This is Charlie Hall, and look, I'm not a huge fan of Polygon overall, but I will say that he does good work. He actually does do good work. He's one of the few people that is I believe authentically covering and unbiasedly, is that a word? Unbiasedly covering the tabletop industry. So tabletop industry in full panic mode as Trump tariffs are poised to erase decades of growth. Devastating consequences expected, says Trade Group. So Trump unveiled sweeping tariffs on foreign goods Wednesday, with the reportedly arbitrary levies exceeding 60% in some cases. As I understand it, again, I'm not trying to get political, and this is not a political channel, but as I understand it, it's supposed to be reciprocal. So they charge us 10%, we charge them 10%. We'll see what actually happens. I don't know. While the tariffs were long expected, one business analyst told CNBC that the administration's plans are worse than the worst case scenario, with most tabletop games being produced overseas, most in China. The impact could be devastating. Developers and publishers are sounding the alarm. So this is, what group is that? This is, they said the games you play are likely to become more expensive. Nearly 20 organizations that Polygon spoke with said profits will be severely impacted. Many said jobs will be lost, companies shuttered, and games that have been in development for years may simply never come to market. This has actually happened with some crowdfunded games, because what happened was when they raised the funds for the game, as I understand it, now it could just be an excuse because they're late, but when they raised the funds for the games, the quota price was one, and now it's something else, right? So they have one that they might have been quoted, maybe it was $15, $20 a unit, their cost, and now it's gonna be like $30, $40 a unit, and they were originally not planning on spending that much money, so that's eaten into everything, shipping costs and everything like that. And I have to wonder, especially a complicated game that has a lot of pieces, are people just going to bag it and say we're not bringing this game out because it's going to cost too much now? If we have to find a workaround or something in the US, good luck with that, because during the pandemic we had to get some books done, and we tried to find a US printer for graphic novels and comic books, and it's very hard. And you're going to pay, even if you find one, which we did find one, but we paid literally 3 times as much as we expected to pay, twice as much. It was expensive. That would have been our Crimson Wren book. The first printing of that, it wound up costing us significantly more per book than we thought it was going to. So we made like no profit. We had a crowdfunding campaign. It was like, we did over $100,000 It was pretty sizable, but like by the time we got done with the production costs, because we had to pay our artist, and then the printing costs, and then the shipping costs, we hardly made any money on that campaign. And that was because we had to find a U.S. printer as a big part of it. And and if we're gonna have to go back to that, it's like, yeah, we're gonna have to rethink this. We definitely are. Tabletop gaming, which includes board games, card games, and role-playing games, enjoyed roughly a 2-decade renaissance, brought on in part by crowdfunding. Yes. Nevertheless, much of the industry consists of individual creators, sole proprietors, and small family businesses, and remote teams of creatives. Okay, so this is Gamma. The Game Manufacturers Association said Thursday that the impact of these tariffs will be nothing short of a disaster. The latest imposition of a 54, is that accurate? A 54% tariff on products from China by the administration is dire news for the tabletop industry and the broader U.S. economy. As an industry highly dependent on producing goods overseas and importing them into the U.S., this policy will have devastating consequences. Tariffs are essentially taxes on consumers, not the countries where the products are produced. Publishers will, this is their statement, by the way. Publishers will be forced to pass these costs on to their customers or face the prospect of ceasing operations. Yeah. Nearly a third of all U.S. consumer goods, including clothes, food products, appliances, cars, and entertainment items like games, are imported. This means higher prices across the board, as these products will need to increase prices to compensate for the new Trump tax. Yeah, most of the games are made in China. There's like 3 or 4 companies that make the majority. I'm not talking the Hasbro games, the ones that they're doing, on like a larger scale, but the majority of the Kickstarter games, they come from like 3 or 4 different companies, and they're all in China, or they're tied to China. Went on to add that as prices rise domestically, discretionary spending will necessarily decrease, further constraining consumer spending on games. This 1-2 punch is likely to put many of our members out of business or force them to downsize and lay off employees to survive. The U.S. has a very small industrial capacity for manufacturing tabletop games, especially board games. That was made clear in a statement issued Thursday by Steve Jackson Games CEO Meredith Placco. Some people ask, why not manufacture in the U.S.? Well, I just told you what happens. I wish we could, but the infrastructure to support full-scale board game production, specialty dice making, die cutting, custom plastic and wood components doesn't meaningfully exist here yet. I've gotten quotes, I've talked to factories, even when the willingness is there, the equipment, labor, and timelines aren't. Yeah. Again, we had a hard time just finding a competent hardcover graphic novel printer in the US. And people were super excited. They're like, oh, our books are getting made in the USA. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, hooray for us. Cause we make like no money on this book now, but okay. At least we got them done. We had to get them done. We couldn't wait until, again, this is during the pandemic. We had no idea when they were going to open up shipping again. We had no idea. So it was like, well, get it done. I guess we got to pay. We got to pay to get these books out. And it sucked, I mean, the books turned out great, but it definitely hurt the bottom line. We did not make much of a profit at all on that book. Well, yeah, and figure taxes. Yeah, we didn't make a profit. Nearly a dozen organizations expressed dismay in emails to Polygon. A member of the leadership team at an established tabletop role-playing publisher said uncertainty instigated by the incoming administration had impacted their revenue since at least January. Now the tariffs are poised to deliver a knockout blow. They asked for anonymity, citing concerns over reprisals from other U.S.-based businesses. The news is bad from every angle, but especially for card games and RPGs printed in China. The choice seems to be either one, a massive price hike to pay the new taxes, or 2, go to a direct sales model that removes the hobby distributors from the equation. That's probably what's going to happen. This is probably what's going to happen with comic books and stuff too, because people don't realize, like, if you go with a distributor like a Diamond Comics, RIP, they're pretty much gone, but they're taking a huge cut. Right? Like, you're selling those books to them for like half cover price. And then they're marking it up at the shop, and then, whatever the consumer winds up paying, shop gets to keep, or they mark it down a little bit, but it's brutal. Well, actually, no, you sell them to Diamond, then Diamond sells them to the shop. You see what everybody takes a cut, right? But you're not getting nearly as much. And that's probably what's going to happen. What we're going to see is more people that are just selling direct to consumer out of necessity for a variety of reasons. I mean, the infrastructure is just not there like it used to be. A lot of game shops, comic shops are going out. Distributors are the connective tissue that helps keep Gamma's nearly 5,000 independent member retailers stocked with the latest games. Without their involvement, there may be fewer titles on store shelves. Yeah, the industry is still recovering from COVID. They said the situation is especially problematic for companies that have used crowdfunding. Their products were bought and paid for years ago. Yes, this is the problem. Their products were bought and paid for years ago with backer dollars on Kickstarter, GameFound, and BackerKit. Sometimes these games take years. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes these games take years to be developed and to test, test them and then manufacture them and then to finally, get it in your hands, hopefully. But yeah, sometimes they never show up, but you know what I'm saying? And they budgeted one amount of money and now it's going to cost them significantly more. And I know at least one game that I backed where they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And most people are pretty understanding, right? Because you back a crowdfunder, you're not 100% sure what's going to happen. Most people are pretty understanding, but they were like, yeah, we don't know what we're going to do. We have no idea what we're going to do because, if you budget, again, just a round number, $100,000, we made $100,000 and we expected our production cost to be like 30, 40,000 of that. And we had a little wiggle room there or whatever. Now we're talking, you're going to add another, if it's, 50, 60%, you're not going to make any money. Then why are you doing it? Just to be nice? It's like, I'm just going to make this game just to be nice. In the short term, I have to eat those costs to fulfill the Kickstarter. Yeah. Said Josh Simons, founder of Broken Door Entertainment, who baked in an extra margin in anticipation of the tariffs. He said it wasn't enough. Tariffs will raise 20% of my expected profit off this initial print run, making it much harder to get my next round of products developed. That hit to my budget means I'll probably only be able to afford making one product instead of two for the rest of the year. Some people are saying they're probably going to go out, right? Here's another one. Said I'd cancel print run of one of our board games this morning. This is Michael Addison from Nerdy Pup Games. We're basically putting all manufacturing on hold. We currently make both board games and tabletop RPGs. There's a chance we're simply done making board games for the foreseeable future. Yeah, board games are expensive. Board game pieces are already expensive. So they said, yeah, we looked for a printing partner in South Korea or Vietnam. They got tariffs too. I mean, we don't know how it's going to play out exactly, but everybody's kind of freaking out. And we got people being called out, though. This is where it gets kind of wild. Like, we have people getting called out. They're like, you're using sweatshops in China to make your games. And now you're like, oh, it's immoral that they're doing the tariffs or whatever. And they're getting pretty testy on social media. But there's a lot of stress. I mean, this is a legitimate thing. I can tell you, again, as people, as one half of a duo that owns other companies, we do other things besides YouTube. This is definitely going to change things for us too. I mean, I just got a shipment of stuff in from China the other day, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. We're gonna have to wait and see if the brokers or whatever jack their prices up. I don't know. So there we go, guys. This is gonna be a hit to Tabletop too. What do you think? Leave a comment. We'll talk later.